Hello everyone, and welcome to my YNR Official 24 channel. Noah Newman barrels through a red light, one hand gripping the steering wheel, the other clutching Sienna's trembling fingers as she gasps for breath beside him, her face drained of color, her body slick with cold sweat, the dashboard clock blinking past midnight, as if mocking the way time has suddenly become both too fast and unbearably slow, and Noah's mind races through every argument, every secret. Every moment he told himself she was stronger than she looked, that whatever darkness followed her could be outrun, but now as she doubles over in pain, clutching her abdomen with a strangled cry that slices straight through his chest, all of those excuses shatter at once, because this isn't about pride or betrayal or unfinished love anymore. This is about life, and maybe death, and the terrifying realization that he might be too late. The emergency entrance erupts into chaos as Noah skids to a stop and shouts for help, his voice cracking as nurses rush out with a gurney. Their faces instantly alert when Sienna collapses forward, barely conscious, whispering Noah's name like a confession and a goodbye wrapped into one, and as they wheel her through the sliding doors, fluorescent lights flashing overhead like an interrogation, Noah's past crashes into his present. Images of Sienna smiling too brightly, dodging questions, hiding bruises beneath long sleeves, deflecting concern with sarcasm. And the memory of the night she swore she was fine, that nothing was wrong, that he needed to trust her, because she was carrying something far heavier than anyone realized. Inside the ER, doctors bark orders, monitors beep urgently, and Noah stands frozen just beyond the line he isn't allowed to cross, watching as they cut away Sienna's jacket, revealing alarming discoloration spreading beneath her skin, the kind of internal trauma that doesn't come from a simple fall. And when the doctor asks Noah what happened, his answer comes out fractured and incomplete, because how do you explain a relationship built on half-truths, late-night disappearances, and a fear that something monstrous was always waiting just outside the frame? The tension spikes when Sienna suddenly convulses, her body arching as alarms scream, and Noah lunges forward before security gently but firmly restrains him. The helplessness nearly knocking the air from his lungs as he watches the woman he loves slip further away while strangers fight to pull her back, and in that suspended moment, his phone buzzes relentlessly in his pocket. Missed calls from Nick, texts from Faith, a voicemail from Sharon he can't bring himself to hear, because Genoa City senses when one of its own is in peril, and secrets have a way of surfacing when blood hits the floor. When the doctor finally steps out, mask lowered, eyes grave, and says the words, internal bleeding and emergency surgery, Noah feels the world tilt. His last name suddenly irrelevant, his inheritance meaningless, because no amount of Newman power can rewrite biology, and as Sienna is rushed into the operating room, she locks eyes with him one last time, fear and regret colliding in her gaze, her lips forming words he can't quite hear but will haunt him anyway, something like, "I'm sorry," or "protect her," a phrase that lodges like a splinter in his mind and refuses to come free. The waiting room fills quickly. Nick arrives first, jacket thrown on over half-buttoned shirt, his jaw tight with worry as he pulls Noah into a fierce embrace, followed by Sharon, whose calm exterior barely masks her maternal terror, and then Victor Newman himself strides in, commanding and controlled, yet visibly shaken when he takes in Noah's haunted expression and asks a single, devastating question. "What aren't you telling us?" Because Victor knows crises don't arrive without context, and Sienna has been circling the Newman orbit like a storm cloud for months. Hours drag by as the surgeon battles unseen damage, and Noah's thoughts spiral back to the clues he ignored, the anonymous threats Sienna received, the envelope of cash she tried to burn, the night she admitted someone was watching her, but begged him not to dig, until suddenly it all aligns into one horrifying possibility. Sienna wasn't just running from her past. She was protecting a secret powerful enough to destroy more than just her, and when the surgeon finally returns with blood on their gloves and exhaustion etched into every line of their face, announcing that Sienna is alive but critical, stabilized but not safe, and that complications suggest prolonged trauma rather than a single incident, the room goes silent, because this means someone hurt her, badly and deliberately. Noah is allowed into recovery for a brief moment, where he takes Sienna's fragile hand, her skin warm but slack, machines breathing for her in a way that feels obscene, and he whispers apologies he never thought he'd say, promises he doesn't know how to keep. While outside the curtain, Victor quietly makes calls, his voice low and lethal, because if someone put a Newman-adjacent woman in a hospital bed fighting for her life, then someone has just declared war. The tension detonates when a nurse rushes out with a sealed lab envelope, explaining that preliminary blood work revealed something unexpected. Sienna is pregnant, but the fetus is in distress, and the revelation hits Noah like a physical blow, memories rewriting themselves in real time, late-night nausea, sudden mood swings, the way Sienna touched her stomach when she thought no one was looking, and Sharon's gasp echoes across the corridor as the implications ripple outward, because this child ties Sienna to Noah forever, and perhaps explains why she was so desperate, so afraid. And when Noah whispers, "my baby," under his breath, Victor's eyes harden with fierce protectiveness, because now this isn't just about Sienna. It's about bloodline, legacy, and a child who may already be paying the price for sins committed before they were even born. Alarms sound again, doctors rush back in, and the family is pushed out as Sienna's condition suddenly deteriorates, forcing an emergency decision that could save her life at the expense of the pregnancy, and Noah is asked to choose his signature, trembling on the consent form as tears finally fall, because no one prepares you for deciding who lives when everyone you love is on the line. And as dawn breaks over Genoa City, pale and unforgiving, the hospital stands as a battleground of whispered prayers, buried truths, and looming vengeance, with Sienna suspended between worlds, Noah forever changed, and a storm gathering that promises to expose every secret she tried to take with her into the dark, because in Genoa City, survival is never the end of the story, it's just the beginning. As the sun claws its way over the skyline, casting pale light through the hospital's tall glass windows, Noah sits motionless in the waiting room chair he hasn't left for hours, his knuckles white, his eyes red-rimmed and hollow, the echoes of the doctor's words, critical, unstable, life-threatening, looping endlessly in his head while around him Genoa City wakes up unaware that one of its most dangerous secrets is finally bleeding into the open, and when the surgeon emerges again, scrubs, wrinkled, voice measured but urgent, explaining that Sienna survived the emergency procedure but remains unconscious, that the pregnancy has been stabilized for now though complications loom like a storm cloud, Noah exhales a shaky breath he didn't realize he was holding, gratitude and terror tangling so tightly in his chest it almost hurts to breathe, and Sharon reaches for him, her hand warm and grounding as she murmurs that miracles don't announce themselves, they just quietly show up when you least expect them. But miracles in Genoa City never arrive without consequences, and it doesn't take long for those consequences to make themselves known when a uniformed officer steps into the hallway, followed by Chance Chancellor, his expression grave, professional, and unmistakably concerned, because Sienna's injuries tell a story no one can ignore. And when Chance gently but firmly asks Noah to walk him through the night again, where they were, what Sienna said, who she was afraid of, Noah finally allows the truth to spill out in jagged fragments, admitting that Sienna had been receiving threats, that she'd begged him not to involve the police, that she claimed someone from her past was closing in, someone powerful, someone who doesn't forgive, and Chance's eyes flick briefly toward Victor, because in Genoa City power always leaves fingerprints, even when it tries to wash them away. Meanwhile, inside Sienna's hospital room, machines hum softly as she drifts in and out of consciousness, flashes of memory colliding behind her closed eyes, dark corridors, whispered warnings, a man's voice cold and familiar promising that she could run but never hide, and when she finally stirs, her fingers twitching, lashes fluttering open, the first face she sees is Noah's, his relief so raw it nearly brings him to his knees as he grips her hand and tells her she's safe, that the baby is alive, that she's not alone anymore. But Sienna's expression tightens, with fear rather than comfort, and she rasps that she never wanted him dragged into this, that loving her has put him directly in the line of fire. Across town, Rumors spread like wildfire, whispers moving from coffee shops to boardrooms to Newman Enterprises itself. Where Victoria demands answers, Victor refuses to fully give, insisting only that someone crossed a line and will regret it, while Nick presses his father harder, sensing that whatever Sienna is mixed up in didn't start last night, didn't even start in Genoa City. And when Victor finally admits that Sienna's name surfaced years ago in connection with a financial scandal buried so deeply it was supposed to stay dead, Nick realizes with dawning horror that Sienna may have been running from something Victor himself helped unleash. Back at the hospital, Chance returns with preliminary findings, security footage tampered with, a suspicious vehicle spotted near the scene, and evidence suggesting Sienna was assaulted before collapsing, causing Noah's blood to run cold as he pieces together the truth that this wasn't an accident, it was a warning. And when Sienna overhears part of the conversation from her bed, panic floods her system, her heart rate spiking as she begs Noah to promise he'll keep the baby safe no matter what happens to her. Words that chill the room because they sound less like fear and more like preparation for the worst. Emotions explode when Audra unexpectedly appears, her arrival sending a ripple of tension through everyone present. And when Noah confronts her, demanding to know how much she knew, how long she suspected Sienna was in danger, Audra fires back that Sienna lied to everyone, that she was manipulating Noah while cutting deals behind his back, and the argument escalates until Sienna weakly intervenes, her voice shaking as she confesses that she did what she had to do to survive, that she stole information, hid money, and made enemies because powerful men don't like being exposed. And as she locks eyes with Victor, the unspoken accusation hangs heavy in the air, because she didn't just cross dangerous people, she crossed the wrong ones. The fallout is immediate and brutal, with Victor ordering a private security detail for Noah and Sienna, Sharon insisting Sienna move into the Newman Ranch once she's released, and Chance quietly reopening files that were supposed to stay sealed. While Noah grapples with the weight of impending fatherhood under siege, realizing that love in Genoa City isn't just romantic, it's tactical, strategic, and sometimes deadly. The tension spikes once more when a nurse rushes in with alarming news. Sienna's condition is deteriorating again, not physically this time but neurologically, with symptoms suggesting she may have suffered a traumatic brain injury, raising the terrifying possibility of memory loss, and as doctors explain that she might forget critical details, or even forget Noah altogether, the floor seems to vanish beneath him, because the woman he loves may wake up without the secrets everyone is desperate to uncover, or worse, without remembering who she trusted. As night falls again, rain streaking the hospital windows like tears, Noah sits by Sienna's bedside, whispering their story to her in case she can hear, recounting their first meeting, their fights, their laughter, the way she looked at him when she thought he wasn't watching, while somewhere in the shadows of Genoa City, the person responsible watches the news coverage closely, lips curling into a satisfied smile, because the message was delivered. The game is far from over, and the next move will be even deadlier, leaving Noah, Sienna, and their unborn child standing at the center of a war they never asked for, but one they can no longer escape. Night presses down on Genoa City like a held breath, the hospital corridors dim to a sterile hush broken only by the rhythmic pulse of machines and the occasional squeak of a nurse's shoes, and Noah barely notices the passing hours as he keeps vigil beside Sienna's bed, watching her chest rise and fall, every breath a fragile promise that she's still here, still fighting, even as doctors whisper about swelling, scans, and uncertain outcomes. And when she finally wakes fully this time, eyes focusing with a clarity that feels almost cruel, Noah dares to hope until she looks straight at him and asks, in a thin, frightened voice, "Who are you?" The words slicing through him with surgical precision as if someone reached inside his chest and tore something vital loose, and the room tilts as Sharon gasps softly behind him while the nurse freezes mid-step, and Noah forces a smile that feels like glass in his mouth, introducing himself slowly, gently, explaining that he's Noah, that he brought her to the hospital, that she's safe now, though the word safe rings hollow even to his own ears. Sienna listens politely, confusion clouding her expression, her gaze flicking from Noah to the 4 lines to the heart monitor as if assembling a puzzle missing half its pieces. And when the doctor confirms that temporary amnesia is not only possible but likely, that stress or shock could trigger memory gaps, the implications ripple outward instantly, because the woman holding the key to everything, the threats, the attacker, the truth, may not even remember the lock, and Victor's jaw tightens as he absorbs the news, already recalibrating, already calculating damage control in a way that makes Nick bristle, because this isn't a boardroom problem, it's a human being unraveling in real time. The next blow comes swiftly, when Chance returns with confirmation that the vehicle seen near the scene belongs to a shell company tied to an offshore account, one Sienna once flagged in a sealed federal complaint years ago. And Victor's silence speaks louder than any denial, because he recognizes the architecture of his own buried sins, understands that the past he thought he'd buried has instead been quietly growing teeth, and when Nick confronts him in the hallway, accusing him of prioritizing power over people yet again, Victor snaps that survival requires sacrifice, a statement that lands like a curse when weighed against Sienna's pale, fragile form lying just beyond the glass. Meanwhile, Audra circles the situation like a predator with unfinished business, slipping into Sienna's room when Noah steps out for air, her voice low and sharp as she tests what Sienna remembers, probing gently at first, then more aggressively when Sienna fails to react to names, faces, or shared history, and the realization dawns that this blank slate is dangerous in its own way, because without fear, without memory, Sienna might unknowingly walk straight back into the fire. Noah returns just in time to hear Audra warn Sienna that trusting the wrong people could get her killed, a statement that explodes into confrontation as Noah demands Audra leave, his protectiveness flaring into fury as he realizes just how many people see Sienna not as a victim but as leverage. The doctors insist on limiting visitors, yet tension finds a way in when a mysterious bouquet arrives with no card. Dark red roses that feel obscene against the antiseptic white of the room, and when Noah notices a small symbol etched into the ribbon. One Sienna once scribbled on a napkin while nervously explaining it meant no way out. His blood runs cold, because memory or not, the threat hasn't forgotten her, and someone knows exactly where she is. Panic escalates when the hospital's security system briefly glitches, lights flickering, monitors rebooting, and Victor immediately orders Sienna moved to a private, undisclosed facility, sparking a fierce debate with Sharon and Nick over whether isolation will protect her or simply silence her, and as voices rise, Sienna suddenly screams, clutching her head as flashes of memory slam back in fragmented bursts, running through rain, a hand grabbing her arm, a voice hissing that the baby would be collateral damage, and when she locks eyes with Noah and whispers, "He knows about the baby," the room freezes, because now the danger isn't abstract, it's personal, targeted, and accelerating. The decision is made to move Sienna immediately, and under heavy guard she's transferred through underground corridors to avoid press and prying eyes, Noah never letting go of her hand as she trembles, begging him not to leave her alone, her fear raw and childlike in a way that fractures him completely, while elsewhere Chance receives confirmation that the offshore account traces back to a man long presumed dead, a financier known for destroying whistleblowers quietly, methodically, and when his name surfaces, one Sienna helped expose years ago, Chance realizes this isn't retaliation, it's erasure. At the ranch, preparations are swift and severe. Rooms secured, cameras installed, Victor pacing like a general before war while Victoria demands transparency he refuses to give, and Nick privately warns Noah that being a Newman means danger never knocks. It just shows up. Advice Noah never wanted but now understands with brutal clarity. Sienna's condition fluctuates, memories surfacing unpredictably, some too vague to act on, others vivid enough to send her spiraling. And when she finally remembers the face of her attacker but refuses to say the name, insisting it would put everyone at risk, Noah explodes in frustration and fear, pleading with her to trust him, to let him help, and Sienna breaks down, confessing that the man who heard her promise to take everything she loved piece by piece, starting with the baby, words that shift Noah's fear into a cold, focused resolve he's never felt before. The breaking point comes when chance reveals surveillance footage placing a familiar face near the hospital during the security glitch, someone inside their circle, someone trusted, and as the realization dawns that the threat isn't just external, paranoia ignites, alliances fracture, and every look becomes suspect, culminating in a shocking moment when Sienna collapses again, blood staining the sheets as alarms blare, doctors rushing in with grim